Hey guys, I'm Joe. Welcome to Dynasty Trading Room. Today we're going to be talking about Ohio State running back Quinshon Judkins, who is a part of that deadly backfield combination of himself and Travion Henderson in the Buckeyes' national championship winning running back room. Judkins had been a really good prospect in the last few years at Ole Miss before transferring to Ohio State for his last year of college football. He joined Travion Henderson. The two became kind of a thunder and lightning duo in a backfield. Judkins was kind of the thunder power back role, while Travion Henderson was more of the home run hitting lightning back. Throughout this film study, we're going to be talking about why I think Quinshon Judkins could be a good running back in the NFL level. While he may not have every single qualification necessary to be a three-down back in the NFL, he could still be a very valuable piece to a lot of NFL backfields with his skill set. The film we're going to be using is both from his last year at Ole Miss and from this past season at Ohio State, so we'll have a bit of a sample size from both years. But our first few clips, we're going to highlight some of his best strengths, and that being his powerful running style, as well as his acceleration ability that allowed him to be such a dangerous running back at the college football level. First of all, here we can see clearly on display Judkins' ability to use some power in the run game. You can see here the tight end's going to come across the formation and block this linebacker here. He's going to try to get the run fit to the outside. This linebacker goes for the inside gap, so Judkins is going to break it out this way. He's going to get a nasty stiff arm on the linebacker over here. And then he's going to be met with some resistance over on this side of the field with some of the defensive backs. But he's going to push right through using that power that we talked about and just plunge through, get some yards after contact, and dive into the end zone in the national championship, getting Ohio State on the board again. So obviously really important to get those yards after contact, being able to push through and dive for those extra yards. You never know when it's going to matter the most, and in this case, it's right here, diving across the goal line in the national championship. But watch that stiff arm, watch the power through the defenders. The tight end, he's going to come across right here, and there's the block. This linebacker goes for this gap in the run fit. The linebacker's going to disengage out to the outside, but Judkins is ready. Gets a stiff arm to the ground, and then pushes through those defenders, diving across the goal line. Really great run. We'll see the replay here. They're going to give it Judkins to the outside. Going to run to the right on your screen. There's the block. Stiff arm. And just plunging through. That contact balance at the end there, really good trait to have. He not only has that burst, but he also has that power at the end of his runs to finish off really strong. Here's another good example of Judkins just running without fear, following his blocks pretty well. There's going to be not the widest gap here between the left tackle and the left guard, but Judkins is going to find his way through after a really good block and just fly up the middle of the defense using that burst of speed. Again, doesn't have great long speed. Those bursts of speed, that acceleration, is something that he has a really good handle on. So able to use that acceleration and just run fearlessly through the defense. Gets taken down eventually, but a really nice run, just gashing up the middle. Again, watch that burst of speed and that power at the end. He's going to plunge forward for as many yards as possible. This dude runs, again, without fear. Judkins gets the gap right there. He's going to squeeze through and then out to the left. Does a nice job of that, getting skinny. And then just plunging through the defense. We'll see it again here. I love this angle, by the way. Really good hole. But you're going to see this linebacker has a shot at the gap, and something Judkins does really well is putting defenders on bad angles with the way he leans and with how quick he is laterally. Having lateral quickness as running back is really good with putting defenders on bad angles so they're not able to catch up to you. He does that with this linebacker. He's going to jump cut to the outside right there, and good run there. And again, here's another example of that lateral quickness we see in this 2023 game against Auburn. And something I wish he did a bit more at Ohio State during his last year. Cut these runs to the outside when there's nothing up the middle. He's going to do a really nice job showing off that quickness, cutting it to the outside and finding a bunch of space, eventually getting tackled, but a really good gain here. We'll break down the jump cut. Judkins gets it, and just there's nobody out here, and everything is plugged up the middle. He's going to take that hole right there, bounce it out, and good burst of speed, bowls somebody over at the end like a bowling ball, and a really good display of the power, the burst of speed, and the lateral quickness, everything we've talked about so far through our film study. Here's the replay. Out to the outside, that linebacker doesn't have time to get to him, and lowers the shoulder, not afraid of the contact. Really good to see. And Judkins, again, we're going to see another stiff arm here where a nice hole is made for him by the offensive line. He gets through it, meets one defender, and throws him into the dirt with a nice stiff arm And, that's a really good tool to have in your arsenal as a running back, especially a running back as powerful as Judkins with that burst of speed. But yeah, gets that stiff arm and keeps going strong for a really nice gain here. So that's one part of his game that a defender does not want to learn about the hard way. Also, a really good job from the offensive line. This center is going to stonewall this interior defender this way. Meanwhile, the right guard is going to come across around him, wall off any defenders here, creating a gap through this area, meeting a linebacker right there. So Judkins can stiff arm, and all they needed was for him to beat one defender, and he did it because they did a great job creating a lane with that crisscrossing pattern. You can see here, center pushing this defender here. This guard is going to go here, wall him off. Guard gets around, creates the hole, and then Judkins finds this linebacker, throws him into the ground, and trips up at the end, but would have gotten the same amount of yards anyway. And watch that line again. Good work creating the hole, and there's a stiff arm, violent, from Judkins. Then here's something good to see, as a run blocker, because in this Ohio State system, Will Howard did use his legs a lot. Judkins looks pretty good as a run blocker. He also did it for Travion Henderson, the other running back in this Thunder and Lightning backfield. But this is just going to be like a QB run up the gut. But Judkins going to go out in front and clear out the lane for Will Howard to get a pretty decent gain. Not a huge one, but again, a solid gain to keep this drive on schedule. But watch the power with which Judkins blocks. Just a small detail, but something nice to see in his game. This left guard and Judkins are both going to go in between the right tackle and the tight end to block defenders up on the second level so Will Howard can go in that gap, which you'll see. Guard comes across. There's Judkins, and look, here comes the block. Bowls him over, creates a nice lane. You'll see the replay. Then watch 51 Judkins. Boom! Nice block. A little bit of what we're going to be talking about is his lack of creativity, vision, and elusiveness that is sometimes shown at the line of scrimmage. Obviously, he has the ability to make people miss at the second level, but sometimes he kind of just runs into his blockers at the line of scrimmage and leaves a lot of yards on the table when he could bounce outside, but just chooses to take it up the gut and run into a bunch of gaps that are already filled by defenders. Again, these aren't huge criticisms I think are going to tank his stock, but just little things I found in this film that I'd like to see improve as he gets to the NFL. Another thing we're going to critique is Judkins' lack of long speed. It's not like he's a slow running back, but his long speed isn't really up there with a lot of the running backs in this class. So he's not really going to be that home run hitter type of back. Although we did see a bit of that at Ole Miss in 2023, he really didn't show the long speed as much at Ohio State in 2024. Which is why I'm not sure if he can be a 3-down back at the NFL level, but he can definitely be that 1A, 1B type running back that splits carries in the backfield and is extremely effective, especially as kind of a power back that can still make people miss and still has a burst of speed. But again, that's why Travion Henderson was the perfect pairing with him at Ohio State. Henderson was that home run threat who could rattle off 50-yard touchdown runs, while Judkins was a great complement to him. I think he could have a similar role at the NFL level, being a fantastic complement to another running back. Again, important difference. I don't think he's going to be a backup. I think it's going to be a 1A, 1B situation, kind of like a similar split to the Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery backfield in Detroit. Not saying he has the same skill set as David Montgomery, just saying I think that's the type of role maybe he could get at the NFL level. Cool plays on here from Ohio State. We're going to see this wide receiver come across as the ball is snapped. The defense is going to assume it's a jet sweep to him. They're all going to flow this way, this whole back unit here. But meanwhile, it's actually going to Judkins. But this receiver is going to come across and block the guy on the edge that's coming around just in time for Judkins to sneak past and get through a massive hole that's been created because a lot of this defense bit on the jet sweep, which turned into a block. And Judkins, massive hole. But unfortunately, something you're going to see is that he doesn't have the greatest long speed in the world. He's not really a home run hitter. That's why he paired so well with Travion Henderson in this Ohio State backfield, who was a home run hitter. And that's why I think Quinshon Judkins is more of a 1A, 1B type running back who fits really well into a Thunder Lightning backfield. I think a cool landing spot could be for him to go to a team that already has maybe a lighter, faster back for him to be that power back. But again, doesn't show great long speed here. That's one of the cons in his game. But still hits the hole well and gets a nice gain out of it. There's the jet sweep. You can see a lot of the defense biting on it this way. And then he's going to get the block right here from the receiver that allows him to sneak just by and finds that massive crease, puts the angle on the linebacker who wasn't able to catch him. But again, just gets caught from behind, but still a really great run from Judkins. And we'll see the replay. And good job from the Ohio State offense selling that and creating a massive hole for Judkins, who makes one defender miss. There's Igbuka. There's the block. Judkins moving away from the whole defense, leaning that run to the right. Again, that lateral quickness. Good job. Next play here, this left guard and the tight end are going to come across together as the ball is snapped to make blocks on the edge defenders as Judkins tries to take this to the outside. Unfortunately, the tight end misses his block, leaving Judkins in a one-on-one situation that unfortunately he just doesn't have the pure speed to win. He can't get to the edge fast enough. He can get those quick bursts of acceleration, but that pure speed just not really there as much as it is with some of the other running backs in this class. But again, we'll see Judkins get caught on the edge, just not showing a ton of speed there, but again, not a huge deal because the tight end did miss his block. But you can see they come across right here. The guard makes his block really well right there. Then the tight end on his man, he's going to miss, just totally whiff on the block. Defender's going to get around and make the tackle. But Judkins not able to get to the edge in time and gets brought down. Again, kind of on the tight end, so I can't really put that too much on Judkins. One other criticism I have of Judkins is I think sometimes he leaves a bit too much meat on the bone in terms of not breaking runs outside when there's obviously not a way to go through the inside. It's good to trust your blockers. It's good to stick to the play as it's designed until there's no gaps to go through and you're caught in the middle of the offensive line with nowhere to go except to break to the outside. But Judkins doesn't always break to the outside when he can, kind of leaving some yards on the table there. We're going to see an example of that here. So definitely something I want to see him do more of, as we're going to see. It's just going to be a run kind of through the middle here behind this part of the offensive line. There's going to be players filling both gaps on either side of his block, so he could bounce it outside to try to get more yards, but he kind of just stands there and waits to be tackled. But watch Judkins here. Right here gets the tackle, and then behind the tight end, you're going to see both gaps are going to be filled. Here, and this player's to the outside. I'd like to see him try to break out after the tight end gets hands on this player right here. I'd like to see him at least try to break it outside. As you can see, tight end gets the block. Judkins, not really an option to cut it back up this way, but I think, if he tried to bounce it outside, there's a player with a one-on-one matchup here that maybe he can get some yards out to the edge and maybe pick up a larger gain, but doesn't do that, kind of runs to his blocker, gets tackled. Small criticism, but just something to watch. Next play here, going back to the 2023 game while he was at Ole Miss against Auburn. These two players are going to act as the lead blockers for Jackson Dart coming across the formation. It's going to be what looks to be a read option. He's going to give it to Judkins, who again, I think he leaves a bit too much meat on the bone here with the run after he gets it. It's really clogged on this part of the offensive line, and there's at least a little bit of space over here, but he doesn't jump cut out. You can argue he would have got caught, but I think it's a way better chance of him getting a big gain than just leaning back into the offensive line expecting a push. But again, doesn't show that cut that you wish you would at the line of scrimmage. Maybe could be a bit more dynamic in that area. Sometimes kind of just runs into contact. But again, a small criticism, but just something I think he'd clean up, knowing when to bounce a run to the outside and find some open space instead of just following those blocks when the offensive line is just kind of clogged up. The gaps are all filled with defenders. So again, you'll see right here, the defense gets stretched out over this way. He thinks Dardist kept it. He's following these lead blockers to try to tackle him. Meanwhile, Judkins kind of just runs back into the offensive line when it's completely covered. I would have liked to see him cut it out this way, but again, just doesn't. I think maybe, just maybe, if you use that lateral quickness to at least try to cut it this way, or maybe even back this way, instead of just running straight into this gap, but gets stopped here. This next play here against Penn State, kind of reinforcing what I'm thinking just looking at his film, that he's not a great mover at the line of scrimmage. He can stiff arm defenders, make cuts down the field at the secondary level, but right here doesn't show a ton of great lateral movement just at the line of scrimmage that we saw a bit more at Ole Miss in 2023, but not a ton of here in 2024. The guard here and the tight end are going to come across the formation when the ball is snapped to make blocks. The defensive front for Penn State does a really nice job kind of filling any lanes that develop on this side of the play. But Judkins has a really nice opportunity to at least gain a couple yards cutting it back this way, but runs into his blocker. I think it's number 56 he runs into and isn't able to get any yardage out of it. So again, just got to work on that vision at the line of scrimmage. You can see as the play starts, they come across, and right here, he has this crease to follow because they've kind of filled every gap here. This defender can fill here on the run fit. But he can cut back up this way with at least a little bit of burst speed. I know he doesn't have the long speed for it, but can at least get a couple yards cutting back up this way. But runs into his blocker here. Not really able to get anything out of it right there. and kind of just goes for no yards. And finally, with our last group of clips, we're going to be especially focusing on Judkins' elusiveness at the second level and his speed. Again, we touched on the long speed isn't the greatest, but he still has really good burst of speed to beat defenders, and we saw he does a really nice job putting defenders on bad angles. And we've seen a lot of good elusiveness at the second level that we're going to continue to see, making defensive backs miss with his powerful jump cuts, and also trucking over defenders at the end of plays. I think that's a really good quality for him to have, fighting for those extra yards after contact, something he does pretty well, and I think will translate really well to the NFL level. So again, these qualities are super important for an NFL running back to have, and I think he has a lot of them. So I think he is worth that mid-day 2 pick in the NFL draft. And as far as Dynasty rookie drafts go, I think it's warranted to draft Judkins at the end of the first round, maybe in the early second round in 12-team Dynasty rookie drafts. This is a similar play design to something we saw earlier, except this time Jeremiah Smith is going to be brought in motion to have an extra blocker on this side. But this left guard and tight end are going to be brought across to make blocks on the second level, again on the edge rushers and linebackers. And we're going to see Judkins do a really nice job navigating around those blocks. He's going to take it up the gut, lean to the outside, then cut back behind the block of the tight end, doing a really nice job to follow his blocks here. And then making a really good jump cut at the end too. Judkins has a sneaky good jump cut in his arsenal. With that, again, that lateral quickness we've been talking about all video, something he can use to his advantage here. But we're going to watch as this play unfolds. Again, similar design except the tight end makes his block this time. Smith in motion, and then you can see right here, the guard has made really good contact here, stonewalling this edge rusher, and the tight end is going to come up the middle for Judkins to follow right there, and makes the block. Judkins is going to run right behind him. You can see the other tight end making a good block here, and find this route into the open field right there, and then there's a jump cut right at the end there. Really good play from Judkins to get a couple extra yards, using that quickness, that burst of speed. We'll watch it one more time. Again, good blocking from all this Ohio State offensive front. Right here, Judkins follows the blocks really well, gets through, avoids contact, shakes off that bit of contact at the beginning, and makes that jump cut at the end to get a ton of yards. We're going to see Judkins. The play is meant for it to look like he's taking it up the middle, but then he's going to follow this block to the outside from his receiver, follow him as the lead blocker here. After this play design, draws a lot of the defense to the inside. Egbuka is going to lay a really nice block, holding the defensive backs there, letting Judkins get to the outside, using that quick burst of speed to get down the sideline. And while he doesn't burn the whole defense, gets a really nice chunk of change here with the yardage. You can see receiver goes across. They think Judkins run to the inside. They collapse, but then he's taking it around. Really good block from Egbuka right there on the outside. And Judkins, that burst of speed, able to get around and make a nice gain out of it. Watch it one more time here. Bounces out, and good stuff. Good block from Egbuka. This next play here, Judkins running through his offensive line, who really cleans up this interior Auburn defensive line. 54 especially, helps wall off the left side of the defensive line and then goes back upfield to block a linebacker. And obviously, he's not the only offensive lineman doing a good job, but he's just the one that stood out to me, walling off and then getting to the second level. And the other offensive lineman able to block the linebackers, giving Judkins a really nice lane which he squeezes through, using that burst of quickness he has as just cut through the defense here. Right here you can see good block. Here's the lane up the middle he's going to be able to hit, and then second level you have two really nice blocks here and here that he's just going to cut up through. Right here, burst of quickness, puts the angle on the defender, gets some extra yards. That's a great play right there, especially from the center. Getting back around, really nice play, and good speed from Judkins. So after getting through all the film, I think Quinshon Judkins has a bright future in the NFL. Again, there are some small critiques I think may hold him back from being a bell cow running back, but I think he'll be a very effective player in an NFL backfield in that 1A, 1B type split role. He's still getting a lot of carries and showing what he can do. Again, I think he's a really good player who should be thought of highly in Dynasty rookie drafts, worth a late first-round pick in my opinion. If you can get him in the early second, I think that's a steal. Again, I think he will be picked on day 2, as he should. He's a powerful runner with that elusiveness at the second level. He's got a nasty stiff arm, and that burst of speed really just puts him over the top as a prospect, in my opinion. I think there's a top 4 running backs in the draft, consisting of Ashton Jeanty, Amari Hampton, Caleb Johnson, and Trevion Henderson. But I think Judkins isn't too far off of that group. Again, he's not in the top 4 for me in this class of running backs, but he's not too far behind in terms of when I think he'll be picked and I think how good he can be at the NFL level if given the chance. I look forward to seeing what team he goes to. Again, landing spot is going to be really important for him. Just see what kind of role he can take up in a backfield. And I think there are a ton of landing spots where he could end up and be really effective. And I think maybe even his ceiling could be that 3-down back if he shows some of the long speed that maybe we didn't see as much of in college. I think he has a ton of strengths as a prospect, and if some of those critiques I had get coached out, which definitely could happen at the NFL level, he could end up being a really, really good running back, especially in fantasy football. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm Joe, and this is the Dynasty Trading Room.